Now we're going to tie the detached body grasshopper fly. We use a Camasan B830 long shanked lure hook, an underbody of varnish. Take your prepared body, slide it off the needle, then using the needle force the needle midway in the body and out through the end that the needle, where it was on the needle. Really slide the needle backwards and forwards and make a prominent hole in there. Then put the eye of the needle into that hole that you've just formed with the needle. And feed the body onto the hook. Now we've got the body where it needs to be, but to secure it in place so it won't wrap round, we slide it right back down the back of the hook and put a dab of super glue on the hook shank. And before that super glue sets, put your body into place. Exactly in place, because once the super glue grabs the deer hair, it can't be shifted again. Put the thread on there, and this is 80 brown thread, onto the thing, and pick up the front of the deer hair by taking the silk gradually back to the back of the hook. Now once that super glue sets, that body will be locked in place. Now we have to fit some legs. I found an old orange broom. I pulled the fibres out of the broom head, and I make up a leg assembly by selecting 3 of those fibres, then tie a standard granny's knot in, tighten the knot down but pretty close to the end of the fibres. Don't make the knot come up the leg too far. Really tighten it off, and when you tighten it off, make sure that the bend in the elbow is at right angles, almost 90 degrees, so that you've got a really prominent leg elbow or knee joint. Repeat the process in the other end of the fibres, keeping the ends pretty short, about ½ an inch, and a really prominent 90-degree bow for the legs assembly. Tie that in at the front of the body. I'll just turn this round a little bit so you can see the angle. Prominent American fly tyer David Borshett says that grasshoppers must be bow-legged, and I've always worked on his principle that the legs have to stand out like a bow-legged cowboy. Now we've got one leg tied in. Cut the fibres off, all except one. I want to leave one long and then the others level. Now to make that so that leg won't slide out, I take that long leg and tie back over the top of it so it's locked in place, and then the leg assembly can't slip out. We put the near side leg in at the opposite angle, but at exactly the same distance from the same as the previous one. Wind it forward and lock it in place, making sure that there is a nice bow-legged appearance on the fly, like so. Can you see those legs in there? Take one of those strands back and overwind it and trim off the excess. Now we've got the legs nicely fitted, and it doesn't matter if they've a bit frayed as long as they cock up in the air nicely. Now to build the head assembly we use a piece of foam about 3/16 of an inch wide, and because I'm old I'm still imperial. Tie the foam in on the far side of the hook, and as you tighten it off, make it come up and sit directly on top. Lock it down by tying the butt in very firmly and with lots of wraps, so that the now we have to tie in 2 hackles. One is a coloured hackle. Fish love orange. Spread the barbels. You have to be pretty gentle with this because it'll damage your feather if you go too rough at it. Then spread them nicely like that so that the barbels are nicely paired out. Trim off the enough to tie in at the butt. Tie that in curve side up, just in front of the main legs. That's the strike indicator hackle. Now we have to put on a leg hackle, which is tied out of a brown or a red cock saddle hackle, around about a size 14. Don't use the soft flue part of the feather. Always use the mature barbels. Spread the barbels on your feather down each side fairly gently and tie that in on top of the orange one, curve side up. Build a thorax up out of brown deer hair. Cut off a little bundle about the size of a match. Tie in a rosette of deer hair just behind the foam and tighten it off by pulling it over to your side of the hook. Cut that off, leaving a prominent neck. Repeat the process on the far side of the hook and trim that off. The thorax should be trimmed down to approximately twice the diameter of the body. At this stage, take the orange feather and do 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3, and trap the tip or the waist on top of the hook. Remove that tip. take the front leg assembly and wind that through. 2 quick turns through the orange. Two in front of the silk and then 2 back to the silk. Trap that on top of the hook and trim off the excess. Then take the foam and form a head at the point where you've tied in the hackles by taking the thread over the top of the foam. Do a whip finish. Now divide the head by taking the silk forward under the hook and then tightening the thread off. Tie off by coming forward under the near side of the eye and then whip finishing. Always do about 15 whips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lock. And now we don't have to varnish that because those whips will completely hold that fly in there. Cut the wing off, or the foam that we're now going to use to form a wing, just at the rear of the body. Make sure that you don't cut your legs off when you're trimming the foam. Now if we leave it at that stage, the wing is miles too wide, so that has to be trimmed down into wing shape. But before we do that, we have to lock it in position so that it doesn't kick up in the air, because the grasshopper wings are always laying flat. So how we prevent that from kicking up in the air is some wonderful super glue again. A little dab just on the back of in the joint between the wing and the body. Then a few seconds, hold it down so that it'll set into place. The better the super glue that you're using, the quicker it'll set. And now we have to trim the wing into shape, and centre of the tail along the wing almost to the shoulder, and repeat the process on the opposite side. Make sure that you don't cut the legs off. And there, my friends, is a completed grasshopper fly. Detached body, wonderful orange legs, bow-legged as the best cowboy in America. Guaranteed to catch you a monster brown trout.